Good evening, everyone, and welcome to On the Wrong Lead presents Saratoga Daily. It is Travers Day Eve, and I have the one and only Chase here. He is of Oaklawn on the Twitter sphere, guy on the ground on Discord, and he is the chief head of the tout empire that is JustPickWinners.net. Last time I had him here was a Friday before a big stakes day, and if you tuned in that day, he handed out a fairly contrarian play on the personal ensign in the try on the super there that paid quite well. So yeah, Chase, how's it going, man?
Oh, good. Doing well. Pretty excited for what looked to be some pretty good stakes races. Tomorrow. Have been having a decent week so far at Saratoga. Kind of started in a lull and then picking it up, being pretty consistent, hitting around three winners on a card and getting some pretty close seconds. So a couple feet and I could be hitting 50%, but I'll settle for 30% any day.
Yeah, no. So, do you see anything on the card today that you think was noteworthy, or, obviously we got quite a bit of rain the past couple of days, and I saw some stuff that changed quite a bit from earlier on in the meet. And I didn't know if you were seeing the same as well.
Yeah, big time with the turf.
Yeah,
That turf track, they got. First of all, I want to say that I got burned on Wednesday trying because I refused to believe that the Saratoga maintenance crew could work the dirt track into fast after 4 inches of rain. But god damn it, they did it. Like hats
yeah,
off to them. It was in really good shape. Um, they took the turf off and then they've listed it firm the last couple of days. I still think it might be a little bit soggy. You're seeing a lot of early speed really kick away in these turf races, sprints and routes. A couple meltdowns, but they were meltdowns where you're looking at like a sprint with an opening quarter going, 22, 22 and what 22-1,
yeah.
and you
It
had
was
to,
fast. Yeah,
and the winner was out there on the lead, but just barely got home. With another 10 feet, then that horse gets picked off. So, it's really good Luis Saez conditions. It's really good Kendrick Carmouche conditions. It's you know I'm hoping that you're going to get that little bit of rain overnight that they discussed, and that will kind of hold, because I feel like there's money to be made where you have early speed kicking away on the turf, especially in New York, because that's just not how turf races on average tend to play.
yeah. I was gonna say, I walked around in my backyard probably 2 hours ago now, and the grass was kind of wet. We were already getting some dew, so they're calling for some chance of rain. It's going to be kind of scattered showery. There's some stuff kind of southwest of Saratoga that might get here. I don't think we're going to get any real accumulation. I don't think that anything's going to come off tomorrow, but I do think you're going to have enough that it'll kind of maintain this. And we've talked about this in the past, that Saratoga is kind of interesting. This sort of day after a rain, speed tends to get really good, and I sort of saw that on the turf. I think if you're looking at fractions the last 2 days in the inner was playing very slow and very heavy, but it was also very very speed favoring. Speed horses were holding on. I think Dylan Davis had some cheap speed in that last race today, and he managed to make it stick. I mean, barely by a head, but he still held on. And I think I think speed right now is just very 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 good on the turf, and I would also say on the dirt, I think the dirt has played more fair than it has pretty much all meet. We saw a couple of horses that were honest closers, horses that end of the backstretch in a 7 furlong were 6 or 7 lengths off the pace, and those horses were able to kind of go around the field and draw off and win. So I think the dirt's playing real fair right now with more water content that we've had in the whole meet, and I think speed's real good on the turf.
With the dirt, I would say that the only thing that I can really pick out and say is that one, um, that rail trip is doing a lot of favors right
Yeah.
now, either on the lead or if you're able to get that pocket trip kind of right, in that second flight behind the early speed. Those horses tend to be doing well, but you can see some big wide closes getting home. There was a horse in I want to say it was maybe the maiden race out of the two hole that made kind of that move wide up the track. After an honest pace that should have melted down. I think that the early races are a little bit of a red herring for how the dirt track is going to play, and it has a lot to do with the kind of races that are carded. You have a lot of maiden races, you have a lot of cheaper cheaper claiming races, New York bred races that are making it seem like it just favors speed like crazy early on, and it just might not be the case. It might just be that those horses are much the best in those fields.
Yeah, again, I think we have to, and that is one thing. We talk bias, and the two of us talk it a lot. I think you have to be real careful when you talk bias on these type of cards, where you just may have horses in these maidens that somebody's throwing a horse in there that's just much the best. I mean, it's Travers weekend. If a horse goes full speed, full send, and draws off to win, you might, it could be that maybe speed's really favoring, or it could just be that somebody had a loaded barn, they wanted to show off their horse on a big day, and they drop them into maiden special and just destroy the field. So yeah, no, I very much agree with what you're saying there. So I think we want to start with the ballerina, the seventh race here. Race with a lot of horses with a lot of questions to ask, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of these that you scratch your head and kind of go, are they going to be able to return back to that form of last year? Or, there's a lot of questions. So what are you thinking here as far as plays?
I'm thinking that I want to use Bellafina, but I'm going to want to use a lot of Bellafina underneath. I think what I'm going to try to do is beat Serengeti Empress, out of some exactas, and kind of use underneath maybe in some trifectas. My dig at Serengeti Empress is I don't think that Serengeti Empress necessarily likes one turn racing. Looking back at her history, I it just I'm looking at a couple of races where it was definitely a one turn race at Churchill Downs, and those are races that Serengeti Empress is not winning. The reason for not using Bellafina on top is this is not the state of California. There are some the horse has some distinct issues outside. Once it ships from the West Coast, it's the horse is going to take a ton of money, and those questions regarding if she can race away from California really kind of make it to me. This might be a pretty lucrative betting race, and I want to beat those horses I mentioned using horses like Truska and Pink Sands. Did I disappear?
Yeah, you froze a little for a second there, but no, I agree with you. I think I want to build tickets around Latruska and Pink Sands. Probably, and I think Latruska is that horse that everybody's been talking about. Is that horse that can take that next step forward, kind of improving form, those types of things. And I think for me, Pink Sands is really interesting on the case that we saw closers doing real well at 7 furlongs today, which is a historic Saratoga move. Pink Sands is your quintessential closer in here, and you're getting really good morning lines, and everything Suge has brought up here has been real live. So I find Pink Sands super interesting here, getting back to a preferred distance. You can toss that last race, which was just way too far.
So, how are we going to make money off of it? Well, starting with the pick one, I think you're probably going to want to Dutch win bets with Latruska and Pink Sands. I don't think there's any way that you don't get fair odds that are worth a win bet in that race. And then what I'm going to do exotically is I'm going to play a key box. And what I want to do is use Bellafina as my key with Latruska and Pink Sands. The reason being, an exacta with Bellafina in it is probably not going to pay as well as I would want. So trimming that ticket with going three horses, and instead of boxing it and going in the key box, I'm going to save a couple bucks and kind of stretch my profit margin a little bit there. And then I'm going to use those two overlay picks, the Latruska and Pink Sands, and put in a try that looks like a 5-6, 4-5-6, 3-4-5-6-7.
No, I like that. I think, Bellafina here to me is a low percentage win chance horse. I just don't think she does it, but she's also a pretty classy horse, so it would not surprise me at all if she clunks up and it hits an exact or a try. So building around her makes a fair bit of sense. I mean, I think if you can get her off the board, you really get paid, but I don't know what the chances of her not hitting the board are. So yeah, I agree with that. I think for me, the race kind of begins and ends with Come Dancing, who I think there's you can make a couple of excuses. First thing, JJ dive into the rail last out when the rail was terrible at Belmont, and then two back they tried to push the horse a lot further than the horse really wants to go. So I think if you can kind of toss those two, Martin Carlos gets the horse back and into his barn, and yeah, I really like Come Dancing here. I think I want to build personally around Come Dancing. I'm going to do so horizontally and probably try to get a pick 3 in here. I think the 6th race, we talked about it a little bit last night, is just absolutely loaded. It's just, if you are a pedigree person, you just look at that and sort of giggle. There's every sort of pedigree angle you could ever want in there. And I think I want to try to get a little cute in this race and maybe just single Come Dancing and then sort of spread into the next. So, unless anything else here, you want to jump to the 8th?
The only last thing I want to say is regarding Serengeti Empress. That is very much a Ricky Bobby horse. If you ain't first, you're last. So I feel like if you're going to make plays against Serengeti Empress, you need to make plays all the way against Serengeti Empress. Don't plan on that horse to hang because that's a horse that's going to pack it up and quit as soon as she gets passed. The question is, can Latruska pass her?
Yeah, completely agree with you here. If you like Serengeti Empress, you sort of have to have her, top two. But my thing is, I have a lot of questions after both the Apple Blossom and the Fleur de Lis. She's really just doesn't seem to be the same horse that she was last fall, and sort of. I don't know if the company's gotten better. I mean, obviously she got beat by CC and Midnight Bisou in the last two. Maybe the company's gotten a little deeper and she just hasn't improved, or just maybe she's a little bit over racing. But I would think that she's a horse that, if you still believe in her, I wouldn't fault anybody for giving her one last chance. But don't accept it too short a price here. And if you're going to build her in, I think that's sort of how you look at her: is either she kind of hits the exacta or she completely misses the board. So let's hop into the 8th. The Troy. Did you have any sort of plays in here?
Yeah, I mean, with what we were seeing, if it holds on the turf, I feel like you've got a couple really really good plays. I'm not crazy about a lot of people in this field. A lot of them are exiting that the Wolf Hill at Monmouth, which was I just didn't think was really that big of a quality race. An early speed bias really opens it up for a horse like Pure Sensation. And we mentioned that the with the early speed bias on the turf, that's the kind of mount that I want Kendrick Carmouche on. Well, I get it here with Pure Sensation. I'm also going to, so what I'm going to try to do is take Pure Sensation as the speed of speed. There's another speed horse in here, American Sailor, who is pretty quick, but I just don't think that it's in good enough form to really keep up with Pure Sensation with Pure Sensation for very long. So I'm gonna make a couple of exacta plays and try to essentially be right twice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that speed of speed with in an exacta on top with Pure Sensation over Chewing Gum and Imprimis, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to box together Chewing Gum and Pure Sensation. So if I get it Pure Sensation Chewing Gum, I'm going to hit it twice. And then with this field being so short and me having what I feel like a pretty good feel on how this thing is going to play, I've got a little, I call them my room temp superfectas because they're not quite ice cold, where I'm going to put Pure Sensation and Chewing Gum on top in first and second, and then use Imprimis and I believe Pulsate. Let me see.
Going back to the Manuel, huh? Yeah, no, I mean, I like how you're structuring around this. I think looking, if you watch the card early and speed is still pretty good early, Pure Sensation ran a phenomenal race last year, or in this race last year. Pure Sensation likes the track, and he's 9. You kind of assume he's lost a step, but man, he is definitely the speed of the speed in here. And I would agree with you. I think Josh was talking about American Sailor last night, and I just don't know if American Sailor is classy enough. And I also don't really trust in TGAF to really send a horse. I think you could have a situation where Pure Sensation is the speed of the speed really gets loose on the lead here. And I mean, obviously, as loose as you can get in a 5.5 furlong turf sprint, but is loose clear by a length kind of a thing. And maybe Pure Sensation takes him all the way and kind of steals this. I like your structure of sort of that sort of building around, and I think we're both on the same two horses. You sort of are taking the speed, and then you're grabbing Chewing Gum, who's the closer's closer with Mr. Closer himself, Rosario. So hopefully he rides this race a little better than he rode the last at Saratoga today. But no, I like that sort of a take on things on top.
So for the just numerically for the super play, it would be 5-7 with 5-7 with 1-6 with 1-6. And for the sake of one of your illustrious guests, who's just a hell of a guy, John Massey, I got to say, I'm well aware that it's not Bill Mott's birthday tomorrow, and yes, I'm still using chewing gum.
Ah, I like it. I like it. Very, very well said. And Bill Mott didn't have a winner on his birthday for the first time in like 20 years or something absurd. So, all good things come to an end, I guess. The easiest angle in horse racing there was to just pick Bill Mott on his birthday. But
I need to put that in my Google Calendar. It's just like happy birthday, Bill Mott.
happy birthday, Bill Mott, the tablet stealing bastard that he is. But yeah, I will never live that one down. But no, I agree with you here, and I think this is, for me, I really like this pick three sequence here, the 6, 7, 8 sequence, where I want the 4, the 5, and the 7 in here. Two of the two of the three you talked with, and I also want little Shecky Shabazz, who is 2 for 2 across the Saratoga turf circuit, and is probably that second speed. Pure Sensation goes, Shecky sort of sits behind, and I sort of like that trip here. But again, if speed is playing really well, maybe I remove Shecky from that play, and trying to play into those three, and starting in the sixth, kind of with a spready, try to find a price in the sixth, play through the 7 in the seventh, and in the eighth, try to get the 4, the 5, and the 7 here. Anything more here, or can we hop into the ninth?
On to the next one.
So the next is the Waya, and how are you looking at this race? Because the more I look at this race, the more I feel like I need to buy it.
I think that even though speed has been good, there is a great equalizer for speed, which is the distance of the race.
Yep.
And I feel like your speed in this race, specifically Bo Bell, who I'm strongly against Bo Bell, is distance compromised. You have a couple of early speed horses that I feel might be a little bit distance compromised that I don't really trust to get the mile and a half distance. So with that being said, what I'm going to try to do is use a horse like Olympic Games, who I think is going to stay a little bit closer to the early pace than some of the other really deep closers in this field. And then I'm going to put those together. I'm going to put Olympic Games together in a trifecta along with Fool's Gold, who might be the speed that could hold on and actually handle the distance. I've seen some results back, in its previous running lines that make me think it.
You mean like when they ran this race last year and Fool's Gold won it? You mean like there?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And so I'm gonna win bet Olympic Games and Fool's Gold, and then I'm gonna put together trifecta, keying those two on top, and I'm gonna go 1-5 with 1-5-7 with 1-2-3-5-7. I think I worked Bo Bell into the third slot in that one because that strikes me as a horse that could get out there on the lead and could, not a quitter that's just going to fall out, but one that is going to get past late because it just can't quite handle the distance. Just the definition of a hanger.
Yeah, and I think Bobel's probably takes a bit of money in here. Bobel seems to be kind of the wise guy type horse, where it's a horse that loves the track, and everybody loves a horse for course angle, and specifically on the Saratoga Inner, where that is a quirky surface. But I agree. The figures don't say that Bobel is fast enough, and also she's over for the distance. So I completely agree with sort of how you're playing that, and then I think you're doing what everybody else is and kind of saying Mississippi more than likely hits the board. It's hard to kind of get around Mississippi here, figures and can get the distance. And I like that. Fool's Gold for me is going to be a spot play. If I can get Fool's Gold at the right price, I don't know what that is at the moment. I'll have to see what scratches out, but I mean 5-1 may be the right price. I think Fool's Gold is super interesting, and I like Fool's Gold quite a bit more than my sister Nat, the other Chad Brown here in here. Even though Chad Brown is super cold, I don't think my sister Nat wants to go this far personally.
I believe. All right, so whenever you and I first met each other, roughly through Discord, I think we got into it once over of a fade Chad Brown day. I decided, I think it was Travers Day 2 years ago. I said it was a fade Chad Brown day, and my reasoning behind that is Chad Brown runs these very European style runners that want to run from behind, and on a speed favoring day, that shit just ain't gonna work. And so, just a general statement on the card for tomorrow. When it comes to the turf, if it is speed favoring as it was today, it might be a good day to make some money going against our buddy Chip Braun.
Yeah, I completely agree with you here. I think my sister Nat needs the setup of the century with this to actually absolutely come apart at the seams. I don't necessarily think the stretch out makes this horse any better, specifically at pedigree. Galileo to me is obviously the world's best turf sire, but to me Galileo's really want sort of that 10 furlong distance, not 12 furlongs, and I think this is 12 furlongs, right? Yeah, 12 furlongs. And also acclamation, same sort of in my head at least. That's what the feel is. I think this is getting a little long for my sister Nat, and she's probably going to take a ton of money in here. Being, oh, it's a turf marathon for fillies or mares in this case, and there's a Chad Brown horse, and I'm going to just bet that because all the connections make sense. Peter Brand owned as well, so no, I like how you're kind of. I think this is a race that fading Chad Brown's always dangerous. He's very good on the turf, but this feels like the spot to do it.
So before we get into the next one, I've finished up my sample of Elmer T. Lee from Polka Dot Taylor. Big shout out to Polka Dot Taylor, thank you. And I need to have adequate alcoholic rage before I talk Gamine in the next one. So if you bear with me just one moment, I'm going to walk to the fridge behind me and grab Miller Lite.
No, no, and Miller Lite clearly will cause alcohol rage, so you get there. Let me set up the next one for him while Chase is getting himself a beer. In the next is the test, and this race to me is sort of the yeah, and I know where Chase is going to go here. This is a what do you think of Gamine? And for me, watching how the bias was playing today, horses on the lead were not holding on at 7 furlongs. I was seeing closers going by, and I think I want an off the pace type. I get it. If she runs back to her last race, it doesn't really matter. She's going to tower over this field. To me, she screams bounce. You don't get paid if she wins, so I want to try to get around her. I'm okay being sort of contrarian. She's going to go off at 2 to 5 or something stupid in this field, which isn't. I mean, there's no monsters in here, but there's enough question marks that make me feel like, geez, again, like you had it last weekend with you in the personal ensign. If you can get around that really, really short priced horse that everybody is getting cute and getting single to, you're going to get paid. So, what's your feeling in here, Chase?
There's one huge question mark that we just don't know the answer to is what happens when Gamine loses a lead. What happens when Gamine, what if Gamine doesn't break well? We don't know what kind of horse that is because there are a ton of early speed horses who want the lead. As soon as they lose the lead, they're going to completely quit. So I feel like you have to make two plays here, and you have to get cute with your structure, and you have to get cute with your bet scaling to make to make it work. Um, what I want to do is I'm going to want to, based off those question marks, I'm going to win bet Venetian Harbor and I'm going to win bet Up in Smoke. Those are the one, Venetian Harbor is the one that's got that kind of a pressing style that should be able to sit off of, Gamine and any other horse that goes with him. Up in Smoke is more of your traditional closer. Uh, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an exacta box that completely tosses Gamine using 1, 3, and 6, which are Up in Smoke, Mrs. Danvers, and Venetian Harbor. And then I'm going to play a trifecta, and I'm going to use my two overlays on top with Venetian Harbor and Up in Smoke over. See, I got it 1-6 over 1-3-6 over 1-2-3-4-6, and then I'm going to play a trifecta with Gamine keyed on top, and then use my horses that I liked underneath, and that's going to have to be the big boy bet because as Mark mentioned, that horse could easily be 2 to 5 when it goes off, and any sort of exactas are going to be slammed to hell. So this might be a good place to go, like a $5 trifecta, $30 total bet with the five over 136 over 136.
Yeah, again, I like what you're trying to do here, and I think for me, Gamine is a soft fade. I mean, obviously, Gamine is the class of the field here. Again, though, the horses never felt any pace pressure. Literally, Gamine's 3 races has been first at every call by like 2 lengths. So first call, loose lead, and then never has been challenged. There's a couple of horses in here. Wicked Whisper has a lot of speed, and Venetian Harbor also has a lot of speed. I don't think Rosario is going to go press Gamine, but Santana on Wicked Whisper may just do that. May soften Gamine up for somebody like a Venetian Harbor, and I really think Venetian Harbor ends up being my top pick in here because I don't know what happens when you press Gamine. So I sort of like, I don't know, I want to be contrarian here. This feels like the spot I want to be contrarian. And I think for me, the 2 horses that I'm really interested in are 2 you mentioned. Venetian Harbor, who is that horse that can sit just off and close into that real hot pace that Gamine and Wicked Whisper probably set. And then assuming maybe Venetian Harbor gets sucked into a 3-way pace duel here, which wouldn't shock me if they go stupid on the front end. Somebody like a Mrs. Danvers really makes a lot of sense coming from off the pace, and I bet you're going to get every bit of that 8-1. And I think this horse has every right to step forward once again. Third start of the 3-year-old season, and Tappett's having a tendency to be, kind of develop as a little bit of an older age.
Yeah, the only thing in Gamine's past that we have where there was a sustained duel was at Oaklawn in that $100,000 optional claimer, where Gamine and Speech just had a
They
ding
went
dong
stupid.
battle on the front end. Yeah, and if I remember correctly, there was a crazy speed bias that day. There was a crazy rail bias that day, and they hit the rail. They went and Gamine dug in. She barely got there, and then went and ran lights out at the Acorn whenever everyone thought she was going to bounce because no one with lidocaine fingers had touched her tongue.
Yeah, very much agreed. I think that race where and I guess part of my issue with Gamine as well is who is Gamine really beat here. Speech is a nice horse, don't get me wrong, but I think Speech is probably more of an allowance level horse and not a real stakes caliber horse. And Gamine barely beat Speech. Obviously she wasn't cranked. She stepped forward to that Acorn. I just don't see any way she can step forward once again. So to me, she regresses. I wonder if that oftentimes if you're a figures person, specifically with Bears figs, loose lead horses throw up stupid figures. And if you look at like Rachel Alexandra and the Kentucky Oaks, she put up a crazy figure. Things like that where horses get real loose instead of those route distances, never a challenge, have it their own way, can run their race. That's, I don't think, going to happen. Hopefully not to Gamine here. And so yeah, I like you being a little contrarian here. Unless you got anything else, let's hop to the Travers.
So, Travers, I want to hate Uncle Chuck, but I'm not sure if I can exactly hate Uncle Chuck because Uncle Chuck has a lot of what we just talked about with Gamine. What happens when someone presses Uncle Chuck? What happens when Uncle Chuck actually has to work for a lead? Uh, but also with the favorite Tis the Law, what happens if Tis the Law has to run closer than a length and a half off of the early pace? If you look at his last 2 races at the second call, has been right there a length and a half back. That just seems to be Tis the Law's striking position. I feel like if Tis the Law is going to run that same race, Tis the Law definitely runs the risk of letting Uncle Chuck just walk away. I think of I can't remember the name of the stakes, but it was another Baffert horse, Fighting Mad, that at Del Mar that just got loose. And I was thinking that Ollie's Candy, who in the Apple Blossom had sent hard, beat Serengeti Empress to the spot, and basically neutralized Serengeti Empress. That's the same race he was going to run. Well, instead it was like everybody that wasn't Fighting Mad, all the jockeys and trainers got together and said, all right, so we're just going to watch this one run away with it, right? They're like, yeah, and they clapped hands and said break, like they were leaving a football huddle. And that's exactly what happened. So somebody's going to have to get up there and run with Uncle Chuck. And I mean, I think Tiz the Law is going to have to be pulled out of his comfort zone a little bit. I think Uncle Chuck is going to be pulled out of his comfort zone a little bit because he's been running against not really anybody in some very short, 4 horse, 5 horse fields. And so I'm going to be contrarian as fuck and use country grammar to win. And so I'm going to play a trifecta 2-8 with 2-3-6-8 with 2-3-6-8. And then I'm going to cover my ass in case Uncle Chuck and Tiz the Law just pull off and duke it out the entire way and play a superfecta that's 3-6 with 3-6 with 2-8 with 2-8.
Yeah, I don't hate getting contrarian there, but man, Country Grammar I don't think is the contrarian horse I want to use. When I watch the Peter Pan, I don't think Country Grammar was the best horse in that. I really think it was Caracaro. And you're going to get a lot better price on Caracaro here. And I think there's an argument to be made that, I think everybody's talking about this. Well, what happens if Uncle Chuck gets loose? I don't think Uncle Chuck gets loose in here. I think First Line can go, has some speed. You got Uncle Chuck, you got Chivalry, and you have Caracaro. All 4 of them have speed. I'm hoping that one of them not necessarily goes, but at least keeps Uncle Chuck some company on the front end. And obviously, this smells like Arrogate. This smells like the setup. Lightly raised 3-year-old comes into the Travers with Bob Baffert trying to steal. Like I've seen this story before, but I think all of a sudden this isn't Arrogate in the fact that Arrogate had a lot more early speed than these have, or have shown. Or that Uncle Chuck has shown. For me, I think it's one of those games where I think Tiz the Law might be able to sit that exact trip with. He's going to probably have to go a little faster than he ever has before, but he's going to get that trip with a couple of those speed balls up front, and he can kind of pick them off top of the stretch. Assuming that though Tiz the Law stays real close and all 4 of them get a little stupid on the front end, I was looking at the works in South Bend, and I sort of get a little interested in South Bend. I want to work this horse in somewhere. I don't know where, but it's one of those things. This was a private purchase after that Ohio Derby. Goes into the Bill Mott barn. Jose Ortiz gets up. And I don't know what they paid, but Gary Barber and Wassel Stables have some money to blow at horses, so I would imagine they paid a pretty penny for this one, and should be able to get the distance, I would think. I find South Bend really interesting in here, especially given the works where moving to the Mott barn, moving out of the Stanley Huff barn, works look really solid.
Yeah, South Bend is the second half of the overlays that I use as a part wheel on top of my contrarian pick. That horse looked. I mean, it's it's very hard for me to say this and not laugh at myself, but looked great in the Ohio Derby. Looked fantastic in the Ohio Derby. Really kind of just barely missed in the Ohio Derby. Ran a big race.
A fantastic second in the Ohio Derby. Yes.
Yeah. It's really hard to say that and not just feel like a fucking asshole. But if South Bend can run back to that same sort of form, and it looks like the horse has just really been on the steady build. Then again, it was also kind of on the steady build into the Cutler Bay at Gulfstream, and then had like a necessary kind of like 2-race bounce before a big race in the Ohio Derby. Mott's 14% with starts with the first trainer. He's 18% with shippers. 13% in graded stakes. I mean I 100% think that South Bend is a horse that you can use, that you can win bet, that you can really get even fucking adorable with, not just cute, and into your plays. But I also think that you've really got to protect yourself against the two dubbed but yet to be proven super horses of Tiz the Law and Uncle Chuck. But yeah, I like South Bend quite a bit, and I feel like I can probably get my Notre Dame alum wife a little bit more interested in horse racing. I'm like, oh, this horse named South Bend just won. Isn't that crazy? Golden Dome. What? Fighting Irish. Touchdown Jesus. First down Moses.
Yeah, no, I mean, and obviously, whenever I'm talking about a 15-1 horse, I'm understanding that the horse is 15-1. I'm not playing some sort of what I'm saying. You can use this horse. This isn't going to be a lone A. This isn't going to be a horse I'm going to build tickets around. I think more than likely South Bend's an underneath type in a trifecta, but my thought here is the fact that there's enough upside that this horse, if it happens to win, happens to be good enough and make that next step forward. It appears coming from that Ohio Derby that this is really a dirt horse that they were trying to run on turf for a while because prior to that it wasn't the best dirt horse. Maybe it's a developing type, needed a little bit of time. This is a horse I'm okay taking a shot at, maybe using as a B on tickets, but with that mentality that I have a scenario where the horse can win. I'm getting 15-1 in a horizontal. This horse probably pays more like 50-1. And if I can get a pick five where I get around Gamine and South Bend manages to win, this pick five pays 5 figs minimum.
Yeah, I really feel, especially with as many question marks as there are in the back.
Uh oh. Arkansas Internet, I think, may have caught up with Chase. Something about lidocaine. He said Baffer. His internet cut out. This. Catching up. You there?
Am I back? Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. With the highly favored horses with question marks in the ballerina, with Chad Browns that I want to fade in the, was it the Wawa whatever it is, the Waya, and with Gamine in the test having that same sort of question mark, I'm trying to shy away from pick five plays, but I feel like if you want to put together a cheap contrarian ticket that doesn't have those horses in there, or if you want to even use those horses and use kind of the ABC structure that Mark uses, and really kind of pressure your opinions with your dollars, and kind of make a good return out of it. I'm not smart enough to structure those sort of things, but Mark certainly is and would know how to do it a little bit better. But I feel like there's definitely money to be made, because there's no way that the favorites win all 5 of these.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's any way the favorites win all 5 of these. I think 3 of these, I don't know who the favorite's going to be. I think the morning lines are really kind of horrible on a couple of these races. So these are the types of races and the types of structures I like to take shots around. I'm okay here knowing that my pick 5 structure is going to be expensive, being spready, but with that upside of, I don't want to say once in a lifetime score, but with the upside that I'm okay spending $300 here with a chance that I think I could see fairly easily how this pays 10 grand. And I'm okay taking those types of shots. So any other...
Last year we took a look into it as to what the average winner paid in the Travers, like over the last like 10 or 15 years. And I want to say it was like $12 to $14.
Yeah, about.
Take your shot in the Travers. Like there's a reason that this race is thought of like it is, and it's because when you say Saratoga is the graveyard of champions, you mean the fucking Travers is the if Saratoga is the graveyard, then fucking the Travers is the burial plot. Like, it is the hole in the ground where they go. And so take your shot in the Travers. Like, I've been playing horses 5 years now. I have seen big prices coming in the Travers. For some reason I can't even think of who won last year. Who was it?
He just ran back in the mile. Genevieve for, oh Christ, my brain's not working right now.
But I want to say that was like the lowest paying win ticket I remember recently in the Travers was last year. Even Arrogate was a,
he went up at 5 to 2.
Yeah, well, I mean that, and what Arrogate became. I mean, you got a bargain on Arrogate that day, especially with how he ran and just kind of shat directly into the heart of my pick 4.
My pick 5, personally, yeah, he cost me a lot of money. And me and everybody else, I hit that, but everyone on the board was like, oh, that's just a real weak Travers. We need to be buying this and spreading 10 deep, because everyone was 10 deep. I think Arrogate was my worst payout, and freaking Arrogate won. So, yeah, one of those days.
The owners of Arrogate knew exactly what they were doing and planning planned for the Travers when they named that horse Arrogate, because as soon as Arrogate just deuced all over my financial dreams, my friend who went in on the ticket with me was texting me. He's like, "Have you looked up the definition of Arrogate?"
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody had a sense of humor. Let's put it that way. Um, yeah. So, any other thoughts on this card besides the fact that I think this is one of the better betting cards, if you're a spot player, of the Saratoga meet so far?
Last week when we were looking at the Saturday card, we were all about the chalk, and now we're all about beating the chalks. So this thing chalks out.
Yeah, favorite wins all 5 races, and we in this pick five pays $50. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. We've all called it. So, um, until next time, thank you for tuning in. This one ran a little bit longer than we normally run, but I think it's Saratoga and
It's
it's
Travers Day,
Travers Day.
motherfucker.
Exactly, it's Travers Eve. So let's talk some horses. But until next time, we are on the wrong lead, and good luck at the races.